Well, good afternoon for you. It's a good morning here in Colombia, and thank you for this kind invitation. I feel honored to come to talk to this selected audience and present our very particular view of how microalgae can change the world. So I will share my screen. Can you confirm that you're looking the first, just the first slide?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Well, how the professor said before, yes, I will talk about the BioPower plant. That is a new proposal that we developed with working together with Dr. Siva Subramanian and a University of Los Andes here in Colombia, in Bogota, and with this startup that I create just years ago. But yeah, from 2013, I have been working in collaboration with Dr. Siva Subramanian, have his company, which is Fico Spectrum, and I have mine, which is Core. And then we created this 5-core company. This is like a merge between the two companies. And we are trying to spread the microalgae technology and try to manage the water, the cleaning water that in South America is not very well achieved and not very extended. Just in the main cities, we have a kind of efficient system of cleaning the water, but not in the small towns. So, and this is a very bad situation for the nature. And I will begin talking a very little about the sewage composition and management, because if you check about the different substance that the domestic wastewater carry on, you can find that a lot of this substance can be considered very clearly nutrients for the microalgae. So seems some very like logical and obvious to use microalgae to clean the wastewater, not only because the other capacities that microalgae have, but because all these substances can be used for by the microalgae like nutrients. However, if you analyze the current way, I mean the most developed and spread way to treat the wastewater, they usually have 3 steps, you know, and the microalgae has been like put just in the 3rd step. I mean, most of the people that are considered experts in the wastewater treatment usually say that the microalgae are only useful for the 3rd step, like a last step of perfection in the cleaning of the water. We have doing works like other of the speakers that talked before me that demonstrate that microalgae can take almost all the pollutants that the wastewater have. So microalgae could be like the main driver of a wastewater treatment process. And there is already large facilities in the world treating wastewater sewage with microalgae at the center. And there is a lot of work that you already know demonstrating that microalgae is not only good for the organic load or for the nutrients, but for the very complex contaminants, pollutants in the water. In our works and other publications, we have understand that microalgae doesn't work alone. Microalgae are like the center of a micro universe that is called the phycosphere, and the interaction that the microalgae have with the other microorganisms that are bacteria and fungi in that phycosphere are the reason why microalgae can shut down so many pollutants in the water And we are trying to design our reactors and our technology focus on that characteristic of the phycosphere. Well, there is a lot of factors that are important for the successful decontamination or successful treatment of the water by microalgae. But we find in our work that we have to select mesotrophic, photosynthetic, and robust, strong organism, because obviously we will confront that organism against heavy pollutants. So they have to be strong. They have to have a high growth rate, and that's in order to compete with no desirable bacteria that could be in the system. And they have to take the nutrients very fast in order to don't have to create enormous ponds for the microalgae culture, because if the microalgae take too long to uptake the contaminants, then we will have to a long hydraulic rotation time. And then if we have a big effluent, a big quantity of the stream, then we have to make enormous ponds, and that doesn't work for the industry in the reality. The point is that microalgae treatment of wastewater is also cheaper. We make a comparison with another treatments that are very, very used around the world, and we find the microalgae is phycoremediation is cheaper than the other treatments. So we think that with all that components, with all that factors, microalgae is the future of the sewage treatment. But why the future? Because microalgae is perfectly suitable for the circular economy or the zero waste economy. So you can think that the microalgae is dominant in the wastewater treatment. You know, when you make a little search in the global market for algae, you can find that it's more than 700 million in the 2020 for like investment in algae technology. And we think, and all the economists think, that for 2027, it will reach 1.2 billion of American dollar. That's a large amount of money invested in microalgae technologies. If you check the competitors, you can find that it's most of them European and American companies. But check the names. It's all companies focused on the energy, not in the wastewater treatment. The economists say that the algae is the most important organism with ecological and commercial significance. So if you say that, you can think that it's not only because the energy potential generation that microalgae have, you know. However, if you go deeper in the market of microalgae, you can find that despite there is a lot of work, like very interesting work that has been presented in this event, you know, sustainable microalgae-based industry are not industrial, and is just like the most of them, more than 90% is academic level, academic scale, or pilot scale, small pilot scale. And the reason for that, of the researchers in this paper find, is the high transformation cost when you try to go to biofuels or fertilizer. Well, and then there is an alternative that emerged, like a possibility to make this sustainable and profitable, and that's the biorefinery. And that's what I want to talk to you today, because we work on that in these like 10 years, and we find that, okay, according to our understanding, the biorefinery is probably the only way to make this applicable to all the world. And this, you can find this graphic that is a little old, actually, that the biorefinery proposed to culture microalgae and use the biomass and the other components of the biomass to many goals, not just for one goal. And that's make more profitable. And that could be, you can integrate microalgae culture to industry or to farms or to, for example, transportation. But the point is, you have one or two input and you have several outputs, and that's a biorefinery. A biorefinery is a concept that we take from the oil industry. And it's a concept that we have to take in account because there is several studies that say that biofuel production for microalgae have no economic viability because of the fuel production market. And it's a thing that we are competing with that thing, you know. So microalgae migrate to high value products, but high value products, like I said before, also have the problem of the processing of the biomass that is very expensive. So the margins and the sustainability, economical sustainability of this business are not so clear. So like I said, this is the biorefinery is a concept from the oil industry. And then when you say that you have a biorefinery, because you have a cascade of process that can use all the components of the raw material of the input, and you can use all the components in this case of the biomass, and you can recover more than 95% of the biomass, the total weight, no matter if oil, no matter if it's the biomass, the residual, and you will transform that in something valuable that you will put inside another economic channel. So that's the concept of biorefinery. This is two like definitions by the International Energy Agency, and again, look that the biorefinery concept is always linked to the energy, you know, but we are trying to connect that with the wastewater. The point is, look that biomass feedstock converted and extracted into a spectrum of various products, and this is a spectrum on bio-based products. In an ideal situation, the biorefinery will use biological or biotechnological processes or techniques to achieve this. But you definitely can use like every process that you can imagine. And you can put a lot of complexity in your biorefinery, depending what do you want to produce, and depending what do you have like input. So that will define your biorefinery. And when I say that define the biorefinery is a strong thing, because there is 3 generations of biorefineries, and that generations are defined because of the input. The first generation that was like 10 years, more than 10 years ago, was like fed with a high sugar content biomass. But the point is, this first generation biorefineries compete with the agriculture lands. So that was like, they was profitable in many cases, but many governments and the world in general decided that first generation biorefinery was not so suitable, because you can take land that you can use for food production to produce fuel. That's not sustainable, and that will like affect the food delivery in the world. And we come to the second generation biorefinery that was a little better, and then the third generation biorefinery that is the kind of biorefinery when you use microalgae biomass, and it's a biomass that doesn't compete. Microalgae biomass could be produced in any land. You don't have to have like the premium agricultural land to produce microalgae biomass. And also the microalgae biomass is like pre-treated, it's like diluted. So it's like the state of mind of biorefinery today, that kind of third generation biorefinery. So biorefinery are a circular economy option that are receiving a lot of investment. You know, and biorefinery infrastructure total 170 billion in 2022. And this is not for nothing. I mean, this have a reason of this enthusiastic investment is because the biorefineries are seeing like an option, an alternative of not sustainable fossil fuel. But the point is that the reality shows something like different. Most of biorefineries today are dedicated to these biomasses that are no micro G biomasses, you know, like are strong biomasses, biomasses that are, sorry, someone is saying something to me. Okay, maybe I can take the question at the end. There's biomasses that high ligninic content present a challenge because you have to pre-treat it, and that pre-treatments are energy demanding. And then you have to use chemical and to use many other inputs. And also the conversion rates of that biomass is less than 60% of the weight of the biomass. You know, then the micro G biomasses are important alternative because, like I said before, liquefied biomass. You know, you don't have to pre-treat so much on this. You have to, but not so much. And you can produce the biomass on the side of the biorefinery. That doesn't happen with the ligninic-based biomass. And the input, I mean, the chemical or the energy demand could be less than 10% of the other kind of biorefinery. So you will say like, okay, microalgae biomasses are dominating the market of biorefinery. That is not true. That is not happening. And then you have like the state of art of microalgae biorefinery. As you can see in this graphic, the productivity of this microalgal biorefinery are still very limited. This is a real commercial case. You can see here, they are using this to produce with sewage, with wastewater, domestic wastewater. They feed the microalgae, and then they clean the water, and they claim that they can clean completely the water in the order that they can sell that water for reuse. That is a very good thing and obtain income from that. But they take the total biomass and they digest in anaerobic digester, and they produce methane that they use directly in the cars. In this case, they have a facility that sell the gas, the combustion gas to the cars, and then they are producing income for that. And they have a residual product with I imagine that with the sludge, anaerobic sludge combined with some residues of the biomass, and they produce this biofertilizer that I are already selling. And you can see here that they are producing an interesting amount of dollars per year. But still, these biorefineries are not too interesting for investors. And what we learned in these 10 years of research is that this is not profitable. It will not work in the real world. I mean, the world is, for some reason, the world is not interested in clean the planet or in have a sustainable, no. That kind of reason doesn't move the people, or at least the people that take the decisions. So you have to make it very highly profitable. Otherwise, it will be not applied in a larger scale. Well, and these biorefineries still have the problem that they use these Rasway reactors, which are very space demanding. So you can have really a solution of this type for bigger cities, because you will need a lot of land to install your Rasway, and they will not be like available near to, or will be extremely expensive near to high centers, big centers of population. So we take this study of Menga, Krog et al., and we analyze really how you can convert a wastewater treatment plant to circular economy. And here you have the study of wastewater treatment plant, a regular wastewater treatment plant for 20K people, and produce this wastewater. They treat it, they have biogas production, and they produce some of the energy that the wastewater treatment plant consume. there is this concept that they call ROI. That is like the energy return on investment. And again, it's money. It's a thing of money. An ROI of 0.38 means that the plant produce partially the energy that they consume, but the plant still need another source of energy to work, and it's a expenditure. You know, if you add phycoremediation to that same plant and you add a step of microalgal culture, you will for each kilowatt that you consume in phycoremediation, you will produce 2 kilowatts, and that's great. But if you you can also digest the biomass, so 70% of that, and then you will find an ROI of 1.01, and that's very, very, very ecological. But that means that this wastewater treatment plant will not need any energy, external source of energy. It will work with the same energy that the same plant produce. This is a neutral plant, and so extremely ecological. And you can say that many of the large companies like can almost achieve this point. Wastewater treatment companies, I'm saying, achieved this point like 5 years ago. So why this is no so like standard? Well, because yeah, this is not so good for investors. It's just like neutral. I mean, you don't lose money, but you don't win money. So you have to reach this point, super algae. And this point is with a ROI of 2.1 of 2.4. What that means? That this wastewater treatment plant is not anymore a wastewater treatment plant. It's an energy generation plant. Produce more energy that they consume, and they can sell that energy. But there is a requisite to can achieve this point. And the requisite is 1, you have to produce more than 25 milligrams per square meter a day of algal biomass to can achieve this ROI. Also, you have to recover more than 80% of that production of biomass that you have in order to can make it available to transform in energy. And also, when you recover this high amount of biomass, you have to convert that in energy more than 77%. And this is a big deal. Big deal, because you already know that the biomass is complex, have a lot of components. How you do that? You know, this is a very complex situation. And these three, in our humble opinion, like research team, these 3 points are the reason why microalgae is not today the dominant source of clean energy and clean water in the world. These 3 like barriers. So we work on that strongly the last 10 years, and we are very proud to present today this BioPower plant. That is our like baby. This is BioPower plant that can use because of the 4 innovation that we create the last 10 years. We can use domestic wastewater, but we can use also sea water, mix it with domestic wastewater, or we can use garbage leachate water, mix it with domestic wastewater. The point is, because of the different reactors that are patented, are like especially designed to digest this biomass, microalgal biomass, to eliminate the undesirable bacteria. This BioPower plant can produce these large amounts of biomass and transform in directly in gases, syngas, and produce a large amount of energy, clean energy, biofertilizer, a small amount. It's still not like at the big business. The big business is the energy, but also large amounts of water for reuse. That in all countries is a very good thing, because that means that we can sell that water for the agriculture and industrial purposes, and then they will not take anymore the water from the swamps and the lakes and the rivers, because it's a big problem. And also, well, you can capture, like you already know, large amounts of carbon dioxide gases. This biorefinery, when you make the analysis according to the 20 KL test that we made, have an interesting income per year. If you have a biorefinery for like 5,000 person, you know, and then it's interesting for the investor. Why this work? You will say, you can say that, but why this work? Well, because we designed this BF+2. This is a special bioreactor. It's closed, open bioreactor that can achieve this production. And this is great. We think that can achieve this production because we find the lab about how the micro G consortia behave when you have a large amount of biofilm inside. But there's not any biofilm. You have to produce a biofilm with a special characteristic inducing flows, you know. But also the metabolism of these algae are like speed up. And we think it's because this reactor induced a sensation, you can say that, for the micro G, that the sunrise and sundown like many times in an hour. And we find that when you do that, you can like have more velocity in the nutrient uptakes. This is the biofilm induction structure that is inside the bioreactor. This doesn't move, don't worry. This is fixed in this place, but the water move from one quadrant to the other, up and down all the time. The velocity in which we make that move influence the velocity of the nutrient uptake, and also the biomass productivity. So we achieve with this reactor the first efficiency, but then how we achieve the others with this other reactor? This is the point. Even if you want recovery algae biomass, you have to settle down, or you have to centrifugate, you know, and then that requires time, which is bad because time means a bigger plant, and that's require our energy, which is bad because you want to have the energy to sell it. So then we think, why if we don't recover any biomass at all? What I mean is, what if we can burn the biomass and transform it in an energy predecessor with all the water? So we create this RVCM that is designed to evaporate, torrefaction, pyrolysis, and gasification and combustion simultaneously, progressively, and continuously in separate chambers using indirect heating. With this reactor, we achieve the two. I don't know what the other doesn't here, but we can recover more than 80% of the biomass produced, and we can transform of that 80% recovery more than 85% in syngas. And syngas go to a commercial turbine, and there you have a lot of energy. And this is great for our purposes. So this BioPower plant achieved the triple biomass production that regular culture you have, recover and use more than 90% of the biomass through the direct thermal conversion energy precursors. This process doesn't require energy, you know, not a lot of energy. In separation, the biomass that is not using combustion is directed to enrich the substrate of the MetPlus reactor. That is another reactor. I can't show you photos of that reactor yet, but soon I will show you that is an anaerobic reactor. Yes, like all the anaerobic reactor, but not, because it's specially designed to digest this kind of biomass and produce in our testing lab 3% more biogas than the previous proof that we have. And then that biogas, we wash it in the BF plus reactor, allowing to purify the biomethane in 90%. So this BioPower plant produces clean energy obtain valuable income, highly profitable. And we think that this is like the key reason why this BioPower plant can spread around the world and make a real difference. If you compare the BioPower plant, with the regular biorefinery with microalgae, I'm not talking about the biorefinery with the other biomasses, with microalgae, you can see that is a lot of better performance. And when you can try to compare the ERR of 31.9, you can say like it's a good business. So it's not just because it's good for the environment. Like we always say, we understand that if you transform the wastewater in money, people will stop dropping the wastewater in the rivers because nobody dropped the money in the rivers. So this is a good news for science, but this is a good news for the environment. And we already have a first project, and this is a smelly pond. It's a wastewater treated plant that treat 1.2 liters, 1.200 liters per second. And in this city, there are like 300 tons of greenhouse effect gases in the atmosphere monthly. And they are now searching for the money to transform in the first BioPower plant of Colombia that we think that we produce in between 7,000 and 7.2 thousand kilowatts hour. And we will be zero emission plant and carbon negative energy. So thank you very much. Now I will take your questions.
That was an excellent presentation, Dr. Jaime. Excellent.
Thank you, doctor.
Early morning, you are very bright. 6:30? 6:45.
Sorry, I don't understand.
So your time, morning. What is your time there?
Here now is 6:33 in the morning. Song is racing.
Excellent. I mean, I think we have a lot of questions you'd like to answer.
Yeah, we have a few questions in the chat box. So, which type of wastewater to use for cultivation of algae, filamentous or unicellular algae? Which one is the best candidate suitable for wastewater treatment? You able to hear me?
I hear you, but I will ask you, sorry, if you can talk a little slow, because remember that I'm not a native English speaker. So I have sometimes I have problem to understand if you talk too fast.
Yeah, I'll repeat. I'm also not a native English speaker. I'll try to repeat. Which type of wastewater to use for cultivation of algae? The next question is filamentous or unicellular algae. Which one is best for the wastewater treatment? That's the question. Filamentous or unicellular algae?
Okay. Well,
filamentous or unicellular?
Well, the wastewater type is the residential wastewater, the sewage, and we designed the plant and all the components to be suitable to treat wastewater, domestic wastewater. You know, that changed in many cities, yes, but the main components are like the same, and the concentration of the pollutants are like very similar. So why we focus on that wastewater? Because it's the most abundant wastewater in the world. So we think that if we create a plant that is effective treating that wastewater and also produce energy and also capture carbon dioxide and is profitable, then we will spread the word and we can do something and we can make a difference in the balance of carbon of the atmosphere that we have a big problem right now. We are seeing that the climate is changing. So that's the type of wastewater. Then we think that is another places, as a lot of places that have problem of water availability. Then we make another reactor to soft the seawater in order to can mix the seawater with wastewater and treat it, and then have the double of the volume of water suitable for cleaning for human use. You know, so we can treat domiciliary wastewater. We can mix this domiciliary wastewater with seawater and take the salt off. And also now we are making a pilot. In next month, we will begin to do that pilot in the garbage deposit leached, the water of the garbage deposit that is extremely toxic and is very, very hard to clean with the biological processes. But we find that the same reactor that we designed to soft the seawater can be used to soft this extremely toxic water before to pass to the other reactors, so that we can afford to treat that three kinds of waters. About the microalgae, we always use consortia. We never use single culture for treat wastewater, and that's something that we learned very, very early in our training with Dr. Siva Subramanian, that the consortia is the answer. And we always use consortia that is from the place where the plant is situated. So the first thing that we do is go to the place and find samples and identify what algae live there and what of the, I don't know, 15 or more algae that live there are suitable for the treatment of the pollutants that we find in the effluent. So we select that algae, we bioaugment it, and we create like a consortia for that specific water. So in any plant is different. We design our reactor not thinking in that have to allow the growing of any algae that we put there. So we don't like make a lot of work like trying to find which strain is better, because we always use the strains for the place in which we are working. So we already know that from before that we have to work with the different strains of microalgae. So that the point is create a reactor that can allow the growing of any strain that you use.
But we don't use the filaments. That's what they asked for using filaments and the clumps.
No, not now.
Single cells.
And also, for example, bacteria. There is also bacteria filaments, and they are bad for the anaerobic process. So we recently, like 3 years ago, we buy a participation in a phage virus company. And then we are, we design with them a special consortia of phage virus that kills anaerobic, not desirable bacteria and filamentous bacteria. So that's why our reactor, anaerobic reactor, is so better than the other reactors that are in the market, because we kill all the bacteria that doesn't produce a lot of methane, and we kill the bacteria that doesn't like favor or anaerobic process with virus. Like we do with the algae. Now we have a consortia of virus also. But that virus are totally safe because they only attack the bacteria they are like evolved to attack. So it's totally safe to use it. And then, for example, we have a lot of evidence that microalgae can kill E. coli. Dr. Siva Subramanian showed us in his works, and this is great. But then we think, if microalgae kill E. coli, that have a metabolic cost. So microalgae is using energy and resources to kill E. coli. Then I want microalgae use these resources to get fat and to have childs, because I want more biomass to convert to energy. Then we develop this phage cocktail to kill E. coli. And now we have more biomass because the virus kill E. coli, and then the virus, and then the algae just eat and get fat and have childs. And they have more biomass, more energy. So it's like a mixture of many technologies. This BioPower plant is not simple. For example, I only know a little about algae, but not about engineer. Dr. Shiva Subramanian, remember that I contract a lot of engineers. And he say me, why you contract engineers? Contract microbiologists. I say like, oh, doctor, because I'm trying to design something that is very complex, and it is. I mean, for example, the control system is extremely complex and costs a lot of money to develop, but have an advantage. Imagine this. This plant can be controlled.
Jaime.
This plant can be controlled.
I have a question.
Okay.
My name is Sridharan. A nice, interesting topic that I listened to today. So there are two or three aspects that I want to clarify from you. So you mentioned in the biorefinery concept that 25 milligram per meter square per day is quite sufficient for the operation. Is it an error in 25 milligram per liter, or it should be 25 gram per meter square per day?
Per meter square. They in that model, that's not the biorefinery model. That's the Krugman model, which is a German researcher that they made.
Okay, so you mentioned that it is 25 milligrams per meter square per day. So this is using the biofilm. More. Okay, that's okay.
More than.
Now you are mentioning that the IRR is about 32%. And then you also mentioned that there is a form of the amount that you can recover in 10 years. This is about some USD dollars, right? Now the question is, the current situation that do you think any company will wait for 10 years to get the IRR? Is it allowed in Colombia? Or is it normally practiced in Colombia to calculate your returns on the basis of 10 years?
No. This plan, actually, this is a very hard way to value the plan, because this is infrastructure that have a life for more than 4 years. So you can make the calculations to 4 years and will be better. But the point is, when you present to investor a calculation that works in 10 years, that means that these are very good invest, you know, because
usually 10 years for the microalgae business is not considered as a viable these days, because we don't have the capex and opex investments are much higher now. So that's why none of the company is profiting, and none of the companies existing in doing business with microalgae, except for the specialty chemicals. Okay, yeah, so that's why I just wonder whether this concept will be appealing for the investors in any, not even Colombia, but any other country too. So this one.
That's a commercial trick.
It's not a commercial trick, because if somebody is going to invest in this concept, so they will not buy this concept, because this is 10 years. There is a risky business. Okay, so
no.
So
but the point is, we are not saying.
So the other point is that you mentioned that this biorefinery using the bioflames, it is only probably you are using for the biofertilizers and syngas generation, right? Now, if you take the method of production for synthetic gas, syngas, do you think this microalgae is much viable compared to any other processes? Because we have MSW, we have lignocellulosic feedstocks. These are all very, very less expensive production of syngas. So why we should go for microalgae-based syngas production when you have only a very low levels of microalgae?
No, well, the point is that it works with all levels of production. That is like
yeah,
almost
we compared in the past for the generation of syngas. Okay, we compared all the feedstocks. Okay, the only one feedstock which gives you 10 cents per cubic meter is not microalgae. Microalgae, yeah, is far away from the other.
Remember that this is
method.
remember that this is achieved with a new patent reactor that is not in the market yet, because we just patented last year and we are just using internally. And the point is, this in gas production, I understand your confusion, because unfortunately, my presentation was caught by our lawyers. Our lawyers are very, very...
The
let me explain you a thing.
Let me explain you a thing. What I am asking, whether the syngas production using microalgae, is it a competitive process compared to any other process existing today?
That's why I'm trying to explain you a thing. Our reactor is not only fed with microalgae biomass and with 90% of humidity. It's also fed with the sludge with the that come from our also new anaerobic reactor. So you have two inputs in the reactor. We already proved that reactor in the real market, because here in Bogota, which is the capital of Colombia, we have a large wastewater treatment plant that works with activated sludge. And we proved the reactor, and we proved that the rate of conversion to energy, and was amazing. I mean, the reactor works very well. Was designed to burn microalgae biomass to produce syngas better than the regular, that this is the number that you have. But the point is that he can burn, that reactor, it can burn also a sludge, toxic sludge. So in the BioPower plant, that reactor have a dual feeded, not just microalgal biomass, but also a sludge, anaerobic sludge that produce the other reactor that I didn't show you today because the lawyers doesn't allow me. I'm so sorry for that. I know that.
That's okay. You already have a patent, and the patent number is there. So it's not a what I am trying to understand is, now the public, that when they use the syngas generated from the microalgae and the feed, so you are having now two types of feedstock for this. One is the algae, and the other one is another type of feedstock from the sludge. Okay. Now, if 5,000 people in the community, they are going to use the syngas generated from this treatment. Okay, so the cost of the feedstock, the syngas they are getting, is it comparable to the syngas that you generate from other methods? So that's what, if that's the business case. So
yeah,
what
the business case.
Yeah, can you tell me that how much of a cubic meter costs for the syngas? This production.
Well, I have not the number, you know why? Because actually I charge for cleaning the water, So for me, and in the business model, the syngas is like a residue. It's not my purpose. I charge for cleaning the water. And the business model is based that the BioPower plant is profitable, charging the city for cleaning the water, like a wastewater treatment plant. Then I have a lot of sub-products that financially, it's like a residual things. And the other thing that you have in mind that I understand that I don't show is that the syngas is mixed with the biomethane that I produce in the biogas, remember? And I wash in the BF plus, and then the sum of the volume of the syngas plus the biomethane is the one that achieved the energy production that I show. So this is a very complicated process.
So your product is not a single product; it is the two products. It is biomethane and syngas.
My product is energy. Because
we understand perfectly that it is energy, but what we are trying to understand is what is the benefit of using syngas produced by a microalgae and biomethane produced, and then what is the cost and how this will be useful for the community as the end customer. So regardless of how you use the wastewater or clean water or seawater, that is another area of discussion. So anyway, thank you so much. Excellent.
I promise that in like 14 months you will have a paper that will explain all this in a detail.
Yeah,
but the lawyers have all the papers.
Probably it is better that you can have this concept with the biomass production, not 25 milligrams per meter square per day. So you may have to think in terms of just tuning your concept with higher levels of biomass. So
but you know why?
At this point,
you know why
it is too negligible.
The land is important for the investors because the cities, the development cities, increase the price of the land. You know, so the problem of the microalgae technologies is that if you have to put your plant close to a major city or to a city, the land will be expensive. And if you don't have that in mind, the financial close of the investment is impossible. So that's why that researcher of Germany made the biomass production related with the land and not with the volume of the water. That's the reason. Okay. It's really a financial reason. And you are right. This is hard to understand in that way. And we, like scientists or researchers, are not used to have that kind of calculation. I have to learn to do that because otherwise the investor doesn't hear me.
Yeah, that's the reason, because you are probably, for example, if it is a BP, British Petroleum, or any other petroleum company, that if they want to invest in this process, so they will see that what is the cost of production for the syngas. Okay, so syngas is the major precursor for many of the chemicals that we are looking today, which cannot be synthesized chemically. So when you look for chemicals that can be synthesized only through biochemical process, but syngas becomes the #1 precursor. So, but what is the cost? So how do we produce it? Which way it is cheaper? So
I will check that number. I will include in the next presentation.
Yeah, so your model is interesting, but it does not give the evaluation.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your explanation. But it is good for the audience to know that see, it's not the microalgae alone that matters today.
No.
So that's beyond microalgae, when you say sludge, it is not the microalgae alone. It also involves like bacteria, viruses, all organic.
Like I said, is the
material that comes.
Is the phycosphere? Is the phycosphere that is a micro universe?
Think that you are producing the syngas only through microalgae. It is not the case.
No. Not only through microalgae, but we find that microalgae are like the heart of this process. The head of this process. So we're totally.
Today there are 250 people listening to your talk right now.
Yeah, there is a phycosphere concept that is kind of new. I explained about that, and we design our equipment having in mind that the microalgae is just the basis of a microcosm of a lot of microorganisms, and that include bacteria and fungi. And that's very important to have in mind to can design processes that are really applicable to industrial level.
Excellent. Wish you all the best. So let others have some ideas.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a few more questions.
Dr. Jackson have the hand.
Dr. Jaime is a medical doctor, MBBS, MD in trauma care. Very good.
Okay. Thank you, doctor.
Yeah. Can we take few more questions, Dr. Futres? Can we take few more questions?
Yes.
Yeah. How much quantity of algal biomass is required to treat 1 liter of wastewater? It's a question asked.
Well, again, we don't measure in that way, you know. We measure and we design the plants and the basis of the BioPower reactors according to the amount of water or wastewater that we will receive. We say how much reactors we will need according to our previous calculation of the hydraulic rotation time. But if you want to have an idea for the plant that I show, I don't know if maybe I can share again the screen in a minute. Look this. This is a plant of this is the quantity of water liter per second that domestic wastewater treatment plant, and then we will need this amount is 12 BioPower reactors of 50 meters of diameter. So why we know that? Because we already have calculation about the hydraulic retention time that we need to sustain in these reactors in order to clean this amount of water. You know, because this is a view that is more industrial and engineer view from scientific view. So and that change depending of the place. For example, that plant that I show you is in a coastal zone of Colombia. They have a high solar irradiation. So the hydraulic retention time there is like 30% less than if we can try to put that plant in here in Bogota that is very cloudy. You know? So that's the way in which we calculate the not in amount of biomass, but in a quantity of reactors with the hydraulic retention time.
Good afternoon, doctor.
Yeah, thank you, doctor. And we have a question: how do you take care of heavy metals during sewage treatment process? During the sewage treatment.
Well, when we identify high level of heavy metals in the sewage process, we have to install some kind of filters that are biomass, algal biomass immobilized. And then we have to make tests in order to find how much time take with that biomass to get like full of the metals. And then we have to take out that filters and we can dispose that properly, because that biomass can't be used for fertilizer process or for other process because it's contaminated. Sometimes you can burn that biomass in a gas effluent controlled chamber and you can recover the metals sometimes. But in this case, we are just like taking out with the filters, and the filters are basically biomass immobilized, live biomass, no dead live biomass immobilized in some substrate, and then we put that and we try to take out the metals. When there is metals, high level of metals, is a good idea to put at the end of the process, like a kind of a phytoremediation garden also. Then you can filtrate even more that water. Here in Colombia, fortunately, the industries or the large industries are not allowed to discharge his effluents in the municipal sewage system. So if you find high concentration of heavy metals in the sewage, is because there is a problem. I mean, someone is breaking the law. And then we don't have that so frequently here in Colombia.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jaime. It is Dr. Jackson from Muscat, Oman. Am I audible?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I'm grateful to my MCC as well as Dr. Shiva, who is my mentor, who introduced you to me. So you're familiar to me as a doctor and also going to be a doctor in algae. So actually, I had a couple of questions. Number one, I think you already have explained. I was doubtful when you said 25 mg per, 1 meter cube. Because 1 meter cube actually, in terms of algal culture, it refers to 1,000 liters. And we should be looking for 10 times of that. That you already cleared. The second question is that when you had produced biomass from the wastewater, have you compared the quality and quantity of biochemicals, active biological compounds, in your biomass with the one which we are conventionally producing by using the medium in the freshwater or seawater? Have you compared it? I believe there is a difference between the biomasses of these two in terms
Yes,
of
definitely.
and quality. Yeah. So
yeah,
have you done something?
well, we never do that.
Mm-hmm.
We never do that, and the reason is because for us the biomass is just a substrate for a raw process of energy production. So
Right.
we never go to the high value products way of the biorefinery. This is biorefinery that is focused on energy, water for reuse, and biofuel. So we never do that, unfortunately.
Okay. Why? But however, I have one suggestion. If at the end, towards the end, when you see that the rate of production is, not as compared to the industry, other industries who are dealing with the algae biomass, can we use a small step or a single step which will boost the biomass production? What if incorporating a single step which will boost the biomass production? Yeah. Then we will discuss on it.
For us, the BF Plus reactor was a game changing. We find that the process of stimulating the microalgae with this periods of dark light, which is not turn on, turn off, because in the reactor, the process is not like that. It's like a decreasing gradient of light. It's very, very, very slight, and that was a game changing. Also, we feed the methane produced reactor with algal biomass pre-treated, and then the digestate of the anaerobic reactor is extremely good food for the microalgae. So we find that closed cycle increase of level of or productivity.
Okay,
that's the thing that I find that change our numbers in a very important way.
Great. Okay. So it was great meeting you virtually, and also had discussed. Hope we will continue to collaborate. Already,
we have to go. We have to go to India.
Definitely. And also thank MCC for organizing such a very, I should say, very innovative and highly informative program, and wherein I could also, though I am from another country, I could also contribute and take part in that. Hats off to you. Thank you, Doctor. We will be in touch.
Thank you to you for your attention and your kind questions. There is another question, Professor.
Yeah. One more question in the chat box. Any consortium, microalgae consortium identified for wastewater management with algal blooms? Any wastewater management system or consortium which is available for controlling algal blooms? Algal blooms.
Yeah. Algal blooms. Well, I suppose we never have that experience here. We select the consortia very carefully at the lab.
Jaime, I think you did a project in one of the water drawers where you could control the bacteria.
The algal bloom. I don't like. I have to say that I didn't like the term algal bloom because it's cyanobacterial bloom, and I think that this is a bad way to call it, because then the people is understanding that all microalgae make blooms or toxic blooms, and that's not true. So yes, Dr. Siva Subramanian is right. We already actually make a project in which we control a cyanobacterial bloom that was toxic and killed some cows here in Colombia using chlorophytes. And actually just 5 species of chlorophyte. We prepare consortium of 5 species of chlorophyte. We biomintate that consortium in our reactors. And then we put that consortia in large volumes in the place of the cyanobacterial bloom. And then we achieve to kill and remove the microcystis, was the dominant in that bloom, and microcystin that we check with ELISA test of molecular detection. So we think that the cyanobacteria blooms are problem that emerge when the eutrophication of the lake or pond is in place, and then the cyanobacteria get more abundant than the microalgae. But if you help the benefit chlorophytes to take over the control, they will produce many of the already known substance that microalgae produce to compete with bacteria, and they will remove the bacteria, the cyanobacteria from the pond. In the wastewater treatment plants, we are very, very careful to don't include that cyanobacteria. Usually they are killed, they are removed in the first anaerobic reactor, but also when the water came to the BF plus in which the chlorophytes and the formulary consortia are dominant, they are like gone in most of the cases. We never have a problem of that we induce a cyanobacterial bloom for using the microalgae. And also in the cases when we are making bioaugmentation directly in the, I didn't talk about that work today because it was just technology. I understand that the talk was about technology, but in the case in which we make in situ bioaugmentation with microalgae consortia, the abundance of this microalgae are controlled by the ecosystem, by the zooplankton. So we don't produce any harmful change in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the question that.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And to add to that, we also in MCC we have developed a product which we are trying to patent now, so which controls the algal bloom and also maybe the concentration of even 1 to 1.5 gram per liter of microalgae. So it is we are able to reduce 95% or even more than 95% of microalgae in the culture. So that we have developed in our lab. So that's to add to that question. So it is possible. It is possible, and Professor Siva Subramanian has also developed a product to control blooms. But that is
Dr. Siva Subramanian was the one that teach me.
Yeah,
how to do that.
Yeah, that's true. And Dr. Jaime, I have one more question.
Doctorate in algologist.
I have one more question. You said that you have developed some reactors. So maybe some reactors you have developed, no, with a novel reactor design. So you have developed some design, no, maybe closed or open reactors for growing algae. So when you are using the wastewater with high BOD, so how will this system take care of the sufficient aeration, or you may need to produce or you may need to induce aeration into that? If that is the case, that will be some more energy input. So this is just a clarification which I want to know. Did you get my question?
I think so. You're talking about if I'm taking water with high organic load.
Yes, exactly.
Well, the point is we can configure the system to change the order in which the water goes to the reactors. But usually when we have high organic load, we put the water first in the anaerobic reactor. That, like I said before, is not the usual anaerobic reactor that you can find in the market because we redesigned the thing. So that reactor takes most of the organic load always and transform that in biogas. in our case, a biogas that have a good proportion of methane against the other components of biogas. Then the water goes to the aerobic reactor, that is the micro G, the BF+1. That aerobic reactor also has bubbling of air from the atmosphere and bubbling of that biogas, you know. And we are constantly measuring the pH and other factors inside the reactor in order to increase or decrease that bubbling. But the bubbling of the air, of the atmosphere, have a lot of oxygen, or enough oxygen. So we control that conditions electronically, and even we have like a kind of a automatic response in the system in order to doesn't allow the system to go outside or the parameters that we have fixed, like the optimal. So, and in that reactor, take the rest of the organic load. But maybe it's not the micro G, for sure is the bacteria that is accompanying the consortia. But we have a removal of totally, I mean, we achieved the regulation in Colombia to can use that water for agriculture, irrigants, for industrial purposes, and even to put in a river without harm, because organic load is removed for the bacteria in the anaerobic and in the aerobic reactor. And that is important for the balance of masses. I understand for my engineers, because the point is this plant is claiming to be more effective in transform the organic load to energy. So this is like several systems working together in this process to achieve to take off the load, the organic load.
Yeah, got it. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, doctor.
Dr. Hanumanth Rao is organizing this. He was my PhD student. And,
great.
he worked with one of the industries earlier, chemical industry, and he has submitted his PhD. So yes, he is aware of what we are doing.
Great, doctor.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Rudra.
No, thank you.
I mean, wonderful session and a wonderful discussion. So it
has been an honor. Has been an honor, and I'm very grateful for you for your invitation and with all the audience, the hearings. It's a great experience to can do this from the other side of the world. I'm just beginning my 28, and you are ending your 28. I think
yes.
Professor is freeze.
Yes, we are 5:40, 5:45.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very
Professor, you get freeze.
Thank you very much. How much?
No, you get freeze. We can hear you from like 2 minutes. It's just me, or?
No, he's out of. Yes, he's now come back, I think.
No, I'm here.
Yeah, okay.
I'm here. Right? No. I was not able to hear, actually. I was not able to hear what Dr.
Your connection is getting weaker.
Thank you very much for your invitation.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Jaime. Thank you for being here. So it's on behalf of the Department of Microbiology, Madras Christian College. We thank you. And when you come to India, please visit us, Madras Christian College.
It will be a great pleasure and honor. I understand that your school is very old, very